Delirium tremens is a psychedelic experience. You have hallucinations, and the hallucinations aren't just visual. You have hallucinations like as you're looking at stuff while you're awake, but you also have mental hallucinations. That's the only thing I can really that's the only way I can describe it. You have these closed eye visuals. That's a better description, where it's like you close your eyes and it's all of a sudden like you're in a completely different dimension watching things unfold, you guys. It is crazy, but you don't just have these visual and closed eye visual hallucinations. You also have tactile hallucinations. And for those who don't know what those are, that's when you feel things touching you that aren't actually there. I think a lot of what's going on in these experiences, you guys, these hallucinations, they're very real. I don't think it's just like your body is like in shock per se. I think it is in shock for sure, but I think that the visuals have serious meaning. And I know this may sound kind of like, I am in no way, shape, or form by saying what I'm about to say, venerating the alcohol withdrawal experience. When I say that the alcohol withdrawal experiences is a very spiritual experience. Now, when most people hear the word spiritual, they think that angels and butterflies and all this other crap. I'm talking about like the spiritual realms are inhabited by good and evil, you guys. Read Ephesians 6:12 and you'll know what I mean. Like you're piercing the veil and seeing beyond it through these withdrawals. You're going into non-ordinary reality for sure. But when I say spiritual, I don't mean like, oh, it's a great thing. No, I'm saying you're going beyond your mind's normal parameters and witnessing the non-ordinary. If you read a book, there's a book out there. God, I think it's from this book. There's a book by Dr. Douglas Baker called The Opening or The Finding of the Third Eye. I think it's the opening of the third eye. The Finding of the Third Eye, I believe, was written by Vera Stanley Adler. It's a black book with a guy in a meditative stance with like a third eye on fire, I think. The Opening of the Third Eye by Dr. Douglas Baker. In that book, he goes on to talk about how people going through delirium tremens, the process of delirium tremens actually manipulates the brain to such an extent that it turns on to some degree or stimulates, in a negative fashion, however, the pineal gland, which the pineal gland, if any of you do any bit of research on it, you'll find that it's considered the third eye. I have my speculations on this. I think that the pineal gland gets way too much credit. That's a subject for a different rant. I'm not saying the pineal isn't important, because it is. But it's like people focus on that when in fact like these mystical experiences involve the entire brain, the entire biology. It's not just one gland. But he talks about, I'm almost positive in that book, that alcohol withdrawals, delirium tremens, stimulates the third eye, and it becomes very active. It overstimulates the pineal gland. Now, delirium tremens is often synonymous with near-death experiences as well. And having near-death experiences can be very traumatizing. Because when you think you're dying for like hours on end, you guys, that does severe, or it can do severe psychological damage to the very infrastructure of your mind, your psyche. When you think that you're dying for hours on end, and you think you're about to drop at any moment, it is the most intense experience you will ever go through. And you think you're dying and you don't want to. Every part of you is fighting it off. And this prolonged near-death experience is accompanied with the most profound feelings of guilt that you did this to yourself, the most profound feeling of like missing your mark, if you catch my drift. I don't know how to explain it. It makes sense in my head, but it's not coming out properly. Like, it's one thing to have a near-death experience, but to have one that you caused And in such a pitiful way, alcohol, drinking too much, and then stopping, or you catch my drift. It's the worst fucking feeling. And it's like you think you're dying while you're having all these visual hallucinations, closed eye visuals, you're having tactile hallucinations, you're having auditory hallucinations. For a very prolonged period during this withdrawal experience that I had, there was a group of these like demonic entities that were surrounding me. And there was like a circle of them around me. I could sense them, and at times I could see them out of the corners of my eye. But when I tried to look at them, like I could see like these shadow figures, but when I would look at them real quick to try to see what they looked like, they wouldn't let me make direct contact with them, but I knew that they were in the room. I could see them out of the corners of my eyes, and they were talking about how they had successfully helped kill me. And they were talking about how their master would be very pleased for their work. They were saying things like, "We got him, he's dying." There was also this very skewed like carousel music, this carnival music that was, you know how horror films, they'll often use like carnival music or circus music, but they make certain tweaks to it so it sounds very ominous and swelling and tense. There was this weird music like that, and these entities were in the room. I am convinced that this was not just a hallucination, you guys. I could hear them, I could see them, I could feel them. It was like they were surrounding me and watching over this death experience. So it became like a spiritual war between me and this malevolent force, where I just prayed and I prayed and I prayed. God, if you allow me to make it through this, I will do my best to change people's lives by inspiring people to get sober. I will use these experiences, God, to try to educate people, and I will do my best to build something that can help other people. Please let me get through this, please. Man, insane. Like I was on foot because I wasn't a drunk driver, so I would go on foot pretty much everywhere. And I always had a backpack full of booze. Always. Always. I would get so hammered